Don't worry, folks, I'm here. Just adjusting the camera. It wasn't quite right. Sorry about that. Welcome wherever you may find yourself around the world this lovely Sunday evening here on the East Coast of the United States. For those who are able to come in earlier and catch Andre Schneemann on the channel, thank you so much for being here. For that was an epic conversation. I really enjoyed it with Andre. It was fantastic. Thanks a lot. Let me see if I can adjust all this and bring these things up on top there, make myself bigger again since it's a members perk stream. If anybody's triggered by my hat, my apologies. It's a lovely hat. Okay, let me get this up on top here so it'll show up. There we go. Right. All right, cool beans. All right, folks, how is it? How's it going there? Okay, so for those tuning in right now, if you're a member of Chris Wyatt Africa, you can contribute to the conversation in the chat. Anyone's welcome to watch the stream, so anyone please feel free to tune in. I got already a dislike. Obviously, somebody just really is lacking a life. He just follows around and gives that dislike before streams even occur, so that's just such a sad existence. Anyway, folks, welcome into Chris Wyatt Africa. It's not a communist day. I am wearing a Bayern München shirt. Yeah, check it out. There you go. That's right. 4-time champions. They won the triple this year, winning the European Championship, winning the Bundesliga, and winning the Pokal. Once again, for like, I think the 6th or 7th time, Bayern München's done it. So cool beans. Let's see who we got in the chat here. Now, I'm going to have to bounce back and forth in chat because I do not have chat privileges because I'm not I'm not a member of my own channel. So I can't do it in the stream. Interesting like that, huh? But I should be able to say something here. Let me see if it works. There we go. It lets me in there because I'm on the channel. All right, excellent. So hello, team. Let's see what we got there. Lezan says she couldn't listen to Ronaldo's stream any longer. I'm a bloody year younger than him and went to the same university. Took 3 taxis through dodgy areas to get there. Couldn't afford books, etc. I'm with you, Lezan. The whole concept of white privilege, I'm so sick of hearing about it. It in itself is a bigoted, if not racist, theory and concept. You are stereotyping and saying people based on their appearance have privilege. That's idiocy. If they have privilege, it's only because someone confers privilege on them, and that's the fault of the people who confer that privilege. Why would you treat someone differently just because of their appearance? That's wrong. So yeah, we hear lots of arguments. We hear Bianca's nonsense. Ooh, I go to Pick and Pay and there are no people of color on the shampoo. Well, that might be because 75% of the customers at Pick and Pay are like the ones that appear on the products. Go to a spaza, go to a tuck shop, go to an informal trader or someone selling goods on the street and notice all the products that you buy. Dark and Lovely doesn't have any white models on it. Why? Because they're hair care products for black women. Gee, imagine that. Anyway, this nonsense about that white privilege. Ugh, I wanted to vomit too. Yeah, and Ronaldo means well, and I don't mean to give him a hard time, but come on. Yeah, he's part of a generation of people who've been hoodwinked into believing something that isn't real. The fact that you are black or white doesn't make you better or worse. It makes you who you are and how you appear. How you're acculturated and how you grow up is different. You know, lots of, as I mentioned in the chat in the other stream, 45 million white Americans live in poverty in this country. Many of them in abject poverty. Lots of Native Americans live in poverty. And about, 10 million black Americans live in poverty. So yeah, lots of people live in poverty. But this nonsense about this white privilege and all this stuff from before. So what happens to the born frees? They get punished because of something that came before that has no bearing on their life. They get no advantage from that. It's utterly silliness. I don't really want to talk about Bianca nonsense. So let's see what we got in the chat here and who we got. So Lezan was here. She's early. Tian is here. Rhodesians, good to see you there. Yanni, hey Yanni. Rudy Roo. Oh, Yanni, what's going on? Is Joe bored? I noticed Joe was in the chat too. His Game Boy must be broken. Rudy's watching from the phone. Robert Zade is here. Eric is here. Anne-Marie Jenkins is here. Who else we got? Totenkopf, good to see you there. Lezan, Citizen Guardian. Hey, Citizen Guardian. And Rudy Roo. Well, at least this time it looks as though I got the chat right, correct? I mean, it looks like the chat is only open to members. Is my hat triggering anybody in the stream? Hey, Marauder, good to see you there. Yeah, folks, wow, what a weekend. What a weekend. Is it not something of a weekend here, ladies and gentlemen? Wow. Anyway, so, yeah, what a weekend. Rudy is not triggered by it. Your hat makes, Yanni, my hat makes him happy. All right, well, it goes well with my Bayern München jacket, doesn't it? By the way, I'm wearing this because I know it violates the rugby standard, but I do follow one soccer team, and that's Bayern München. It's the only one, and only because of long-term affinity dating back to my early days with rugby. I was also a fan of Bayern München. Yeah, so this just came in the mail. Mail delivery on a Sunday. Can you imagine that? But this just came in the mail. It was from Fanatics. I got this at about 40% off, hence the reason for buying it. So it's pretty cool. I love this. Going to wear this in the Alps next week when I go out to the Rocky Mountains. Week after next, not this coming week. Anyway, so let's see what we got here. Erica says, yep, sure know about plenty of whites living in abject poverty. Greetings, Marauder. Paulie's here. Good to see you. Hat only triggers the week, says Philip B. Hey, Philip, good to see you there. And Tian says, oh, you're talking to Yanni. Perhaps a show for people and in particular parents on how to protect your kids and keep them off the dark web next. Yeah. Hey, Yanni, tell people where you got that idea, man. Whose idea was it you talk about the dark web? Who suggested that? Lazan says, my mom worked her ass off, turning every cent around a million times to make it go as far as possible in order to keep us in good schools. That's white privilege. I don't know. Yep, with you, Lazan. I'm with you 100%. Kyle is here. Good to see you. Kyle is freezing, apparently. Chilly, chilly, chilly. I guess the Cape Town had hail yesterday. In Cape Town, you see that at the biker rally when one of the cops assaulted a biker and drug him off his bike and then sucker punched him in the back of the head when the guy tried to walk away afterwards. Yeah, there was big chunks of hail lying on the streets of Cape Town. That was, wow, something else. This guy called Chris Wyatt. What did Tian say? Oh, yeah, that's where the idea came from. Well, thanks a lot, Yanni, for that recognition. Anyway, folks, wow, it has been an epic weekend. Let's just run through the events here on Chris Wyatt and events in South Africa. Not really around the world. We won't focus on Africa and the rest of the world today. We'll just focus on South Africa unless anyone like Brett or somebody's in here that has questions about something outside South Africa, then we'll talk about it. But Friday, Hindmarks, United Liberty Alliance, talking about Cape Independence and Cape Secession. Interesting. One of the oldest groups out there. Hein was a very good guest, and we went for quite a while on that. Good audience for that. Then on, by the way, we know there's shadow banning going on, though, because a lot of people from ULA who tried to watch the stream were blocked. Trying to watch it from South Africa, they were unable to access the stream. Hein himself couldn't watch the stream that he was appearing on. Yeah, and then I looked today, and YouTube has removed 1,000 of my subscribers over the past 28 days, and I've gained 1,100. Huh? Which doesn't even make sense because the subscriber base for the channel has grown just in the last week from 7,200 to 7,800. So 600 people joined this week. So I don't know where they're getting their numbers from, what they're doing. But I do know that they're unsubscribing people without their knowledge. And it's not, some people will leave, that's fine. They don't like the channel, they don't like the content. Maybe this hat triggers them. Maybe they don't like my views. And maybe they were just trolls. Some trolls come on and just subscribe so they get notified. But 1,000 people leaving without some incident, without some offense given, that just doesn't make any sense. That's 1 in 7 of my subscribers in the course of a month. Doesn't make any sense. My content hasn't gotten worse. It hasn't gotten less. It hasn't gotten more pointed, and I've not attacked or insulted anybody other than calling out public figures, but that's legitimate in the world of journalism, folks. So yeah, let's see what else. Kyle said, I'm ashamed of being a Cape Townian after watching this. Please handle the situation poorly. Well, Kyle, don't be ashamed of being a Cape Townian. Remember, they may be from the Western Cape, those police, many of them, but the South African Police Service is controlled by the national government, not by the local governance in Cape Town, either the mayor or the Premier of Western Cape, Alan Winde. They don't control the SAPs, only control the Johannesburg Metro Police. And unless I'm mistaken, those were SAPs, were they not? Yeah, anyway, whatever the case is, yeah, don't be ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of America because leftists are murdering people in the streets of our cities. I'm angry at politicians from the left who are undermining public order and safety in the name of a fictional narrative which they can use to overturn the political order to their own personal gain and fame, which is what it's all about. It's about gain and fame, folks. That's what it's all about. So yeah, so that was Friday. Saturday, started off the day really early. Still kind of recovering from that. I was up at 3 a.m. to start streaming the bikers rally against farm murders and racism in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I have got to tell you, the SAPs told us there were 30,000 motorcyclists in Pretoria alone. Compared to 2018, there were 4,000. There were 30,000. That, I've seen an image that someone's passing around. I have no evidence to support it, but it says that the toll gates said that 41. Now, I don't know which toll gates they're talking about because unless it's around the south side, in the mid-rand there. I don't know where the toll is, but I know where that toll is. But it says 41,000 motorcycles passed through the toll. I guess that's based on their license plates. That's insane. That's insane. 41,000 just in Pretoria. This event took place all over the country. Nelson Mandela Bay, Durban, somewhere in Limpopo, Cape Town, Kimberley, Pretoria. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing event. So that biker rally, I'll break some of that up probably into 3 chunks. So they're 3 1-hour chunks or thereabouts, so people can watch and digest a smaller part of it there. But yeah, that's awesome. So then after that, I had Dr. Cornay Mulder, and despite some challenges technologically, I don't know what was going on with Zoom. I think it was actually Streamlabs that was acting up, and I got this feedback loop, which has happened once before. So we crashed everything, we restarted, and we regained, I think, most, if not all, the audience we had initially. And it was a good stream. Dr. Mulder was a fantastic guest. I didn't get to a lot of what I wanted to get to because he told some fascinating first-person accounts of the transition and what happened at the end of apartheid with the National Party, the CODESA, the Convention for Democratic South Africa, and all these events, which were very helpful. And from an insider's perspective, many people simply aren't aware of those things, especially outside South Africa. So I went with that for a while. But we'll have Dr. Mulder back on the program, and we'll talk to him again. He's looking forward to it. And so that was yesterday. And then, of course, I produced several videos, including our own field reporters, Ronaldo, Jose, and Erica Unwin. Hey, check that out. Erica was reporting for us live from Durban. She was covering the event from down there, sent us videos. We tried to do the live stream, but the audio just wasn't working. So she recorded a wrap-up video, which I put into a produced video and put on the channel. And that video's had over 1,000 views yesterday. Fantastic. Well done, Erica. Well done, Erica. And there it is. Yanni's just put the link into the video with Erica. And we also had Ronaldo Jose, who was in Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay. He shared with us some videos from outside of his ward counselor's office. My goodness, what a massive gathering of people right there in Port Elizabeth. That was pretty amazing too. Wow. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about, take this off while I talk about this, but we talk about trying to end farm murders. And then what happens last night at 10:30? A 63-year-old farmer and his wife were murdered, along with apparently their dog being shot in KwaZulu-Natal. It's what do you say? I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words. Where are SAPs? Why did the ANC get away with disbanding the commando system and telling lies about what it was and what its purpose was when it was one of the few organizations that provided some degree of security in rural areas in South Africa? At some point, you have to start to wonder about what the conspiracy theorists have to say on this issue. I'm not at that point, but you have to start to wonder. This is vile, ladies and gentlemen, and it's really, really disturbing what is happening in South Africa. It has been going on for 26 years, actually longer than 26 years, but people tend to think of the 26 years because that's when the African National Congress took over. But farm murder has been going on for far longer than that. They've just become more obvious and more pronounced, especially from the year 2000 forward. It's been an atrocious carnage taking place in South Africa. Meanwhile, the number of commercial farmers in South Africa has dwindled from 68,000 in 1994 to probably about 28,000 today. That's pretty scary. Each and every brutal farm slaying has major impact on South Africa. Every farm attack has a major impact. Why farmers, Nico? Well, there are some obvious reasons when it comes to law enforcement. First off, farmers are isolated in rural areas. They're easy targets because they're not in a place where people can respond quickly. If you're assaulted on a city street and someone calls for a cop, normally within moments or minutes, you'll have law enforcement respond because they're nearby, or they might even be right on the corner or actually observe this thing. So you have quicker response in urban areas. In addition, you have many more routes for law enforcement to get to you, to render assistance or to intervene, whereas in rural areas, it might just be a single dirt path leading up to a farmhouse through some wooded area or bushes or across the ridgeline, something like that. So isolation makes you vulnerable, and you really have no recourse when you're attacked. Many farms lack sufficient security standards, and even those who have decent security standards, there are syndicates that are involved in this, not just crimes of opportunity, but actual syndicates that are paying people to go out and do these crimes or profiting from this. If we notice a very, very direct correlation between almost every farm murder that's taken place since level 2 lockdown was announced, almost every single one, there's one thing in common. Virtually nothing was stolen. The only thing stolen in most cases is the automobile so they can get away. and that's it. Occasionally, they might take a mobile. In this case that happened last night, they stole the controller for the cameras and destroyed the camera system in the house and stole the vehicle and then abandoned it when they took off. This callous behavior towards human life is beyond the pale, and the world needs to know about it. And the South African government needs to stop hiding it, covering it up. SAPS is breaking up protests, not protecting the people they're about to serve. Yeah, they're supposed to be serving people. So hopefully, Nico, that answers why farmers. I think that's a very good question. Okay, let me catch back up on the chat, guys, here, because it's a little awkward for me. I either have to look over here away from the screen, or I have to do it in here, and I have to go back and forth. All peaceful protests in Cape Town met with such violence. Yeah, Kyle, I mentioned that in my video 2 weeks ago or last month when the tourism folks sought redress from the parliament. They went to the parliament to complain about the lockdown before it went down to level 2, how it was destroying the tourism industry. They were met with SAPs who told them to disperse. They did. I saw lots of footage of this. They walked away. No one harangued the police that I saw. They walked down the street, and what did the police do? They bring a water cannon unit right down the middle of the street and start firing water cannons at peaceful protesters who are leaving the scene of the protest and exiting and going away. Now, some are still carrying banners and chanting, walking down the street, but the police turned fire hoses on them, and they hit one of the coffee shops there and fired water cannons into it, injuring one of the servers in there, injuring her leg, destroying part of the coffee bar, and the owner came out, and the cops can't be bothered with it. The behavior of SAPs in Cape Town is reprehensible. Why is this happening? One has lots of supposition, but we'll leave it at that for the moment. Yeah, but the South African Police Service are not the Cape Town Metro Police, and that's who was responsible for this. Totenkopf says, Erica, your biker rally input was awesome. Yeah, it was. It really was good. Thanks. By the way, guys, I don't know what you thought. What did you think of the stream? I mean, for those who watched it, that was not an easy thing for me to do, you know. Try to keep you involved and keep it going and upload using Streamlabs, this video, that video. And I couldn't pre-do it because they're coming in literally as we were in the stream. As bikers are rolling around and taking videos. You saw Ramkat recording on his phone, but they all came in sideways because it was horizontal, not landscape. Or not, it was vertical, not landscape. Yeah, but it was pretty cool. Ronald Gans says, white privilege is a weapon for socialist brainwashing. I agree. Okay. And I snuck in tonight. You missed me, Chris. I did, Anne-Marie, but that's because I don't have my normal chat window open, so I couldn't catch you. I can only catch you because everybody who's chatting now is a member. When just members chat, it's a bit easier for me. What's that? What just popped up? Something just happened in the chat. But when did somebody become a member maybe because they want to chat? Let me see. Nothing there. It's not there. But yeah, so when everybody in the chat is a member, it's harder for you to stand out. And I'm also looking at it in Streamlabs, which doesn't show me the orange. I have to glance over here to catch messages. So if Anne-Marie slipped in, then I didn't see that. Anne-Marie, you sent me a message, and I replied, but then I found the answer I was looking for afterwards, and I contacted someone based on that. I know none of you know what I'm talking about, but Anne-Marie Forster does. So we'll leave it at that. The sound is a bit soft. Well, the sound is cranked up all the way, man. It is all the way. I'm in the red right here. I'll put it up. There you go. So like one little marginal spot, it can go further. That's it. I'm pretty much screaming. My neighbors are probably wondering why I'm so noisy. So I'm not so sure what the sound is, what the problem with the sound is. You might want to check your mobile. It could be your computer, Sasa. Yeah, because I got it set up all the way. No, it's not set up like this, man. I'm going to have to take a picture of this sometime and show you guys the mixer. This thing is turned up all the way. There's no, turning the volume up in here doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the output. And the only thing is if I could change here. Now, I can change the directional thing of this, but the best sound quality is picked up with a fan like this, and that's how I have it set up. It's a microphone that's set up so that it's standing straight up like this. That's how it's supposed to be used, like this, not like that. You don't get sound quality. You're supposed to keep it straight up. That's kind of weird, me picking up this microphone. I'm going to put it back down. Anyway, so let's see. There are some conservative YouTubers in the U.S. I think you may enjoy. Chris Wyatt, let me know if you'd like me to email the links to you. Sure, that's fine. That's fine. You can send it. Many YouTubers are complaining, says Rudy. They should be complaining. There's some weird stuff going on here. There's all kinds of data problems, and they get things revised downwards. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday was the most content hours ever watched on my channel. This is after falling to a low of just a few hundred hours, 400 hours a few days ago. Yesterday, over 2,300 hours of content viewing in Chris Wyatt Africa. Thank you. K. Lebois. Bye donkey for all of the viewership yesterday, wherever you may find yourself around the world. I'm very grateful for it. I put a lot of energy and time and effort into yesterday and actually neglected some other things I had to take care of so that I can make sure I got the biker stuff done because I thought it was that important. And then, of course, the stream I already had scheduled with Dr. Mulder, which was fantastic. So it was a long day. And in fact, I went into the night last night at 10:30. I was recording a video about Herman Mashaba's party launch because I didn't want to miss that. But nobody cares. Nobody's watching that video. Nobody's watching the Herman Mashaba video. That's fine. Let's see what else. Kyle says to Paulie, I know, but I can't help feel, our police. Oh, okay, gotcha. He's upset. Philip says, my white privilege got me to work 3 jobs at 23 to study for diploma so I could start my career as my dad was shot with a .357 Magnum in 1996 because he was a white plumber in Alexandria. Sorry to hear that, Philip. That's unfortunate. Sad. Early on, early days too. Wow. Quentin Nago's here. Good to see you on a Sunday. Welcome. All right. Attack was near Dundee. He was a veteran. Oh, jeez. Yep. Boers and farmers could be anyone, not necessarily white or Afrikaans. Yep, Nico. Yep, could be anybody, and it will be anybody. 57 to 60 people killed per day in South Africa. It is a lot of other people. Hendo, what's on BDL? What are you talking about there, Totenkopf? And, whoops, the chat got away from me again. What happened to Hendo? What's going on? What's going on with Hendo? Something happened to Hendo? What's going on there? Why are you guys asking what happened to Hendo? Yanni's here. Hendo's usually here. He was here earlier. Tion says the brutality is aimed at spreading fear and driving legal owners and their surviving family off the land. Many times the false promise of land be given to attackers later on. That's true. That is a true statement. Yep. Okay, Sasa says that's much better. Okay, I can stop screaming then. Kobus says, what a great stream earlier. Yeah, and I didn't finish the story this weekend. Today I had Andre Sneyman on the channel. Was that not epic? Wow, it was amazing. There's a lot of good nuggets in there. I'll be able to make shorter versions of the video so people don't have to watch the full 2 hours. But wow. Andre, excellent stuff. Quite a well-traveled, quite a well-spoken man. And it was fascinating for me as a rugby fan to talk to him about a lot of things, but especially about Just van der Westhuizen. That was especially interesting. And also talking about girls rugby, which is a topic that's often neglected. I really enjoyed talking about that. So yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a great guest. He was fantastic. And thank you all for the questions during the stream. We had some really good questions. I apologize I didn't get to all of them. I did get to a lot of Brett's questions, and I got to questions from others. But thank you so much for that. It was a fantastic stream. I really enjoyed that. All right. When moving closer, sound quality improves. Okay, so I'll just sit right here like this. Well, I always want to dislike. Who is it? Nico, it's a very sad person who lives in their parents' basement and really can't deal with life. They just have to come up with it. I got 2 dislikes now. Look at that, 2 dislikes. Now on this stream, the dislikes could be because someone wants to comment and they can't, but you're welcome to comment. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not a member of Chris Wyatt Africa, I extend an open invitation to you. Become a member of Chris Wyatt Africa and be a supporter of this channel. We really do appreciate the support. And if you think it's a big commitment, it's not. It's a very inexpensive commitment, even for those not doing particularly well. So we have set 3 levels of membership for Chris Wyatt Africa with different privileges and perks. But the opening level is Team Member Recruit. And for that, you pay $1.99 per month to U.S. subscribers. Oh, there's a super chat coming in. All right, so that's the first one. Let me see. Oh, Hendo, that's why. Okay, I got it. I just called it. I'm a little slow here. I got handed this breaking news bulletin here telling me why Hendo is not in the chat. Hendo is not in. He's a moderator, but Hendo is not a member. Okay, so yeah, Chris is a little slow today. I'm still catching up my sleep from yesterday. Yeah, Hendo is not there. Okay, I thought meant something happened. Guys, I know Hendo's in the UK, but when you say where's someone at, I get a little nervous because I think in South Africa, bad things happen and I worry about people. So yeah, there's a super chat from Yanni, and what's that all about? Let me see what Yanni said. Hendo's fine. I was teasing about his caps. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Yanni, are you tapped out, man? Is it salty crack day? You give all your money to Ronaldo, man. All your money. There's a 50% correlation, Yanni. When you super chat on my channel, it's always 50% less than what you super chat on Ronaldo's channel. I'm just teasing. That was actually funny. Looks like a rocket launcher. Yeah, Erica, it does look like a rocket launcher. Talking about the microphone now. Anyway, there's a difference between, well, you guys talking about Giselle. Difference between the volume of Giselle singing and Chris talking, but quality is great. Yeah, the Giselle one's turned up kind of high. Let me just double check on that because that's, let me check my, yeah, that one's, let me see. No, well, that's probably the way it was recorded. It's actually set at a lower volume than mine is right now. Oh, and here comes Yanni with a 70-rand super chat. I feel guilty. Not. Yeah, there is a difference in the sound. Predator Hunting Grounds looks awesome. Yeah, cool. Wait, give it a bash. Started today. Nico, don't worry about the one dislike. It's a pinch of salt. Yeah, that's true. And actually, guys, the dislikes, I don't care for them, but, you know, they drive viewership because YouTube pays attention to how many people like and dislike, not just how many people like. So that makes a difference. Let's see. Oh, Hendo's on Big Daddy Liberty. Big Daddy Liberty's on right now? Oh, my goodness. Why is everybody trying to steal my hour? Nobody was ever up at this hour in South Africa. Nobody. That's why I chose it, so that people can have a late night stream. Now, everybody's horning in on this time. Philip says, watch the video. Like Steve said, I do not trust Herman as far as I can throw Cyril, okay? It says through Cyril, but I think he meant throw. The violent rural attacks, nothing new. It's typical intimidation method starting. That's Rudy. That's the point I was making a little while ago. It's not new. We saw it in Rhodesia for decades. It was horrific. Makeup super chat. Ha ha ha, says Yanni. Thank you, Yanni. Are you wearing a sec mask in your new avatar there? That's what it looks like. And Yanni and Joe hacked into you and Ronaldo's bank accounts. Ah, okay. Well, if it's true what Ronaldo says that my bank account is bigger than his, then how come I'm getting the smaller super chats? What's that all about? Nico says, stop fiddling with the knobs. It's not your hi-fi. Oh, it's not your dad's hi-fi. It's not your father's Oldsmobile. Anna Marie Jenkins says, Chris Wyatt, so what do you think about the debate with D. Jose on Joe's stream? No, you must have missed it. I said I'm up for it. I'm happy to do it. What you'll have there is a 20-year-old, a 37-year-old, and a 55-year-old. So we'll run the gamut of folks. And you'll have two coloreds and a white. I'm the white. Those two are the coloreds. So it should be interesting. No, I'm up for that. I'm happy to do it. I'd love to do it. We just have to set a time up for it if they want to do that. It was a good point. I know some people mentioned that Yanni super chatted to get Ronaldo's attention. Let's see. Yanni and Joe hacked. Okay, sorry, I got that already. Big Daddy Lady just finished. Okay, maybe we'll get a few more subscribers coming over. We'll see. Now I can't unsee the tech mask in my logo. It's actually my beard. It looks like a tech mask because it's so tiny, man. It's like that. Anyway, there's Karen. Karen's coming over from Big Daddy Liberty. I'm sure of that. Or Loving Life. One of the two. Welcome, Karen. Good to see you there. And your Statue of Liberty avatar for your membership, which shows that, like Yanni, she's been here from the outset. So Paulie just gave a super chat and says, plans for some U.S. election stuff as we get closer. Maybe once or twice a week on the Owl stream. Focus solely on the race. A humble request. Yeah, that's fine. I've been making a few videos, and actually, sorry, I was looking for something that came in the mail yesterday. Where the heck did that thing go? I had something I was going to talk about the election. We're getting all kinds of election mail. Actually, if I can find it, I don't know where to look for it, though. I moved it somewhere. I think it's over here. Give me a second. Don't worry, I do have clothing on, so let me get up. Actually, I couldn't find the thing that I was looking for, but just to give you an idea here that we are in election season and I am a registered voter. So this has come to me. Donald J. Trump campaign. This is all the last week, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump campaign. Donald Trump campaign. Donald Trump campaign. Donald Trump campaign. Election. Donald Trump campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, this stuff just keeps coming in. You can see the Democrats have given up on me because I'm not a registered Democrat. So the focus by the parties now on their mailing stuff is to hit up the registered party members so that you make sure they turn out for the election. And you can see that the Trump campaign is trying very assiduously to make sure that Chris Wyatt goes out to vote for them. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so Paulie, yeah, I'll talk more about the elections. I'm trying to, in case you didn't know that, Paulie, I'm trying to get U.S. congressional candidates on my channel. By the way, I forgot Thursday on the channel, we had Dasha Pruitt, who's a Russian immigrant to the United States, a naturalized American citizen. She's 50 years old. She's running for political office for the first time ever, and she's running in the Pennsylvania 5th District, which is south of Philadelphia. So we had her on the stream. We talked. It was fantastic. She was a wonderful guest. And I also have plans to bring on other congressional candidates. I've reached out to several, including a couple sitting congressmen and women right now, and I'm hoping to get a response. I even reached out to a Democrat who's in San Antonio, but no response back yet. She is a former Air Force officer and worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency, and she's also openly lesbian. And so I wanted to get her on the channel to talk about her experiences and talk about the don't ask, don't tell policy in the military and how it affected her. It's a policy I didn't agree with. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to get, so I'm already doing stuff on the elections. Go back and watch that. Yanni put the link in there. Go back, please, and watch, Paulie, the stream with Dasha. She's fantastic. It was really good stuff. All right, so Gamebred just became a recruit team member. Well, Gamebred, you have earned a proper hand salute. So I offer you a hand salute for becoming a member. Thank you so much for joining Chris Wyatt Africa. Nico Ross did a super chat for 35 rand. Says, most informative channel. Glad I joined. Well, Nico, thanks a lot. I really do appreciate that. With the struggle fighting against YouTube and whatever game it's up to. Now, some people have told me that YouTube has algorithms that automatically delete certain accounts. That would make sense to unsubscribe people if they hadn't watched the channel, say, in 6 months or a year. But I haven't even had this channel that long doing this sort of activity. So it's really puzzling that accounts are being deleted, including paying members. I've had paying members who are still being billed and have been unsubscribed from the channel, so they don't get updates. That's really strange. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it's not a smart thing for them to do. It's costing them revenue, and it's costing a lot of YouTube content viewers a lot of angst and anger. So thank you so much for saying that. I'm sure all the ladies were disappointed when Andre Stamen stood up and didn't have his rugby tight shorts on. Tion, you're out of game. Tion gets a timeout. No, don't take him out of it. Quentin says, talking about elections, do you think the violence will spread further to other cities? Saw the guy got shot in Portland last night for just wearing a Blue Lives pin. It's sad and crazy. Well, he wasn't alone. In either Milwaukee or in Wisconsin, somewhere else in Wisconsin, I didn't catch where, a 60-year-old black man who's a Trump supporter, a known Trump supporter, they drove by while he was sitting outside his business and executed him yesterday. I think it was yesterday or Thursday. Yeah, no, it's. I think it's just going to get worse. I don't think it's going to get better until after the November election. Then when Trump wins and the gloves come off and we declare Black Lives Matter what it is, a domestic terrorist organization, then perhaps we'll see a change. And maybe some of these officials who are behaving this way are up for election. Remember, not everyone's up for election this year, but maybe some of them will be up for election, or enough of them will be, and they'll be thrown out of office, and they'll get the message. Right. Thank you for putting that stream in there, Yanni, about Dasha Pruitt. Appreciate that. Gamebred. Okay. Dasha interview was great. Bring in some more candidates. Sasa, I'm working on it. By the way, Sasa Markovich, do appreciate your comments when we were on with the stream on Friday with Hank Marks talking about experiences in the former Yugoslavia. Were you surprised to find out that I knew a bit about the former Yugoslavia? Just curious if you were surprised to find that out. Hey, thanks to the 54 people who are currently watching the stream. I don't know if they're all members or not, because not every member is sharing in the chat, but it was really, really great to have that many. I remember in the early days, for some of you who were with me back then, that we'd have 3, 4, 5 people in the stream early on. Didn't last long. It started growing pretty fast. But I put just as much energy and as much time into doing it then as I do now. Very appreciative of all the people who take their time out to enjoy the content, to participate, to ask questions. And we all learned something. I learned some things today, especially about use of Undervesthuizen from Andre Sneeman, which was pretty awesome. I enjoyed that. So hopefully you did too. Tian Preklas gave a super chat of 35 rand. I love that avatar. Sad news about the Trump supporter who was murdered in Portland. It is, but it's not alone, ladies and gentlemen. I have shown that lots of people are being murdered across this country by these idiots. And my fear is coming to fruition now. The longer that law enforcement allowed this to go on, the more likely it was for people on the other extreme of the spectrum, on the right, the far right, to come out and try to put a stop to it. And now we're seeing all kinds of things. We saw this kid in Kenosha who was assaulted in the streets and then shot the people who were assaulting him. And now he's been arraigned for, murder, for homicide, when he clearly was in self-defense. Now, I don't know the facts of the case. I don't know what happened before that down the street, but we see for several seconds him walking down the street, not molesting anybody, and people coming up from behind and attacking him and trying to take the rifle out of his hand. What a 17-year-old is doing in the streets of Kenosha with a rifle, walking down the middle of the street at night, is beyond me, and certainly should not have been there. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But what a mess this is. What a mess this is. It all starts at Captain Dorn, a 44-year police veteran, 38 with the St. Louis Police Department, then 6 years as chief of police for a local suburban town, executed live on a Facebook stream. These people, they merit no consideration whatsoever. You simply deal with them. And what I mean by that, it was in a lawful manner. But the law is not being applied. And it's quite scary, folks, quite scary. Lars Sala said, sounds like pre-Nazi Germany, early Mussolini. It does sound like the SA, the Sturmabteilung, brown shirts. That's exactly what this sounds like. Ernst-Röhm and the SA brown shirts is exactly what this is. These are the leftist stormtroopers marching the streets, murdering, mayhem, looting, squashing free speech, denying assembly. But they're getting willing accomplices in government who prohibit churches from meeting, but then stand by and allow people to march, demonstrate, protest, spread lies, loot, maim, and murder. And they pull back the police and do nothing. So, yeah, no, absolutely. Deborah Olivier says, I realized today that I only watch alternative news. Actually, Deborah, I have to go with you on that one. Other than watching the Republican convention and parts of the Democratic convention, I have barely watched the newscast in August. It's just become so annoying. Hey, Hendo's here. How did Hendo get in here? How did Hendo get in? If he's not a member, how did Hendo get in? He's here. You guys, he's here. What's going on? Now we got a jailbreak here. Did he get around my no non-members thing? Anyway, let's see. So what else? Dietrich says the situation you say will gradually breed vigilante groups. Yeah, exactly. That's Dietrich. That's what I was exactly saying. It's going, and then of course the response will be, "See, we told you. You see, the right's dangerous." Well, that's the problem when you have no law enforcement and you pull the police back and you leave the citizens to be assaulted. What about the gentleman in Kenosha, the elderly man who his shop was being broken into, so he took a fire extinguisher to try to frighten people away, and then they came up, an old man, and attacked him from behind and beat him into the streets. Did you see that video? Broke his jaw. Unbelievable. Destroyed his business. He's probably bankrupt now, sitting in a hospital with broken jaw, wondering what the hell was my life all about, so that these animals could behave in this fashion while the police sit behind fences and protect themselves. Really scary. Yeah, Kobus says, yeah, mods can chat in here. I know they can. I'm just having fun. Because remember, the first time I did the members perks, guys, I didn't have the settings right, and people were like, hey, I can chat in here. I'm not a member. And I was like, ooh, I had to scramble. So I was just joking. Yeah, Quentin says, I saw today that there is no more ammo available in U.S. stores. Well, yeah, that's the case in parts of the country. That's true. People are making ammunition as fast as they can. It's a big seller. As are firearms. Record sales of firearms in 2020 with good reason. See, the problem, Hendo, is everybody misses your all caps. It's like 1994 when the internet gets going and people come in to send emails with all caps. Hello, I'm just saying hi, which when it comes across in all caps is, hello, I'm just saying hi. Put them on pay-as-you-go in caps. There you go. Anyway, folks, by the way, thanks for the super chats. Wow, it's very kind of guys here on a members perks stream. That's awesome. I don't know if non-members can do the super chat. I wonder if a non-member can super chat. Hey, maybe some non-members should try that. Let's see if you can super chat. Emails with no subject. Yeah, or emails with no subject. Yeah, that's a good one too. You get, what's this? Hey, by the way, the scammers are getting more sophisticated. They've been doing it for years, but I'm receiving very convincing looking Amazon emails and PayPal, not so convincing, but the Amazon, very convincing emails that if you are not astute, you're going to push on the link and have all kinds of problems, either by opening malware or them stealing data off your computer, or you going to some site you don't want to go to. Yeah, I've looked at them, and of course, getting an email from Amazon telling my password needs to be changed, or it has changed, or there's a problem, is a very suspicious thing to begin with. But a lot of people aren't that experienced on the internet, and they overreact. Oh my gosh, I've been locked out of my bank account, and click on it and unleash the storm for themselves. So folks, you got to be very careful what comes in your email. There are very sophisticated groups of people out there who do this. There are also very unsophisticated ones, and it's obvious who they are. But still, you just have to. Nice Bernie voice. Only got one pair of underwear. That's right. I'm from Vermont, and I've been governor. I've been a senator from Vermont for years, for decades. I got one pair of underwear. That's not a very good Bernie voice. I used to do the Bernie voice pretty well. Deborah says I received a number of SARS emails. Those are all spam. SARS. Who cares about the South African Revenue Service? Those are all spam, ladies and gentlemen. Anna Marie says, remember when we were only 240 subscribers? Now we're like the old furniture. Yeah, but Anna Marie, what do I do all the time? I always pay homage. I always recognize, and I always point out those who've been with me a long time. Right? Hank, been here a long time. Been hanging around a long time. Yep, been with me a long time. I think Hendo or Hank, both of them were probably in the first 10 who subscribed to the channel. Wow. And where are we at now, folks? Let's take a quick peek at that. Let's see. Tian says, I'm Nigerian royalty, and I want to give you $1,000 million. That's right. Yeah. It's just amazing. And then what's really sad, ladies and gentlemen, is that you get these lover boy things, and they go after widows or women who are divorced or women who've never married and are lonely or desperate, or even men, but mostly women they go after. And they hook people and they hoodwink them, and it's really, really sad. Really, really. Yeah, I was going to say, SARS isn't even working, so you're not going to get emails from them. It's got to be a scam or a spammer. It absolutely has to be. So that is the truth there. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in. This is pretty cool. I'm enjoying this stream. I hope you are as well. A little bit smaller audience, but that's cool because it's mostly members. If there's no any non-members out there, you're welcome to hang around and listen. But you won't be able to chat. Only members can participate in the chat right now, and that's members' perks, one of the perks. So I'm going to be doing a strategic video soon because I want to do one before I go out to the Rockies, so that I've got one for my members at the upper levels so they get that benefit as well. So, wow, folks, we're almost at 7,800, 7,797. I just want to check that very quickly and see what's going on there. And then, by the way, we've shot over, let's see if it's still there, 120 memberships because it rotates all the time. People cancel. Oh, 121 with that addition. 121 memberships in Chris Wyatt Africa. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate that. Let me see. We've got some super chats came in here, which I've covered all of them. We got, what's going on here? That's the wrong, I opened the wrong thing. That was memberships. And so let's do the super chats. Bingo. Here we go. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 super chats this stream. Thank you so much for that. They're all from South Africa. Wow. Where's Brett at? Where's Brett? Brett was here earlier. Yep. Let me get back. SARS is broke. Remember the original 10. Haven't just seen Just a Ghost or Nicholas Groves. Well, Nicholas Groves I have seen. Just a Ghost popped in like 10 days ago briefly and then disappeared. I don't know why. Not why he popped in, but why he hasn't been around. And Hank says, I think I'm 5 or 6. I think you are, Hank. I think you are. Yeah. And then Hendo's been there for a long time too. Anyway, so yeah. And then as Anne-Marie said, first couple hundred. Listen, folks, when I first started this channel doing what we're doing now, I had 2 subscribers. And I did the first couple videos, hoping we'd get somebody's attention. I published the presence of it on LinkedIn and then on Facebook, but really on LinkedIn is where I put the most effort. And we grew a little bit. Then I went on Ronaldo host program. I called in and was on the air, and people were like, ooh, who's this Colonel, man? He is switched on. Who is this guy? Man, he knows a lot. You got to get him back on Ronaldo. And Ronaldo kindly said, yeah, we'll do a show once a month. And we'll have the Colonel call in. And so I called in the first time a few weeks after that. And by that time, I think the first time I was on, when I called in, I had 97 subscribers. He's like, that's a shame. You guys should go subscribe. And so a number of people went from Ronaldo that first time I called in. And I went from 97 that day up to over 156, I think it was. It was pretty awesome. And then on my own, a few days later, we got to 197. And then I went on Ronaldo later on and slowly creeping up. And we got up to 500. That was a big deal. So I marked the milestones. And 500 we marked. And then we got to 1,000. I wanted Ronaldo to come on my channel, but I didn't want to bring him on until I had 1,000 people. I got to 1,000. We brought Ronaldo on. Seems like so long ago, folks, but it wasn't that long ago. So we hit 7,000 subscribers just 2 weeks ago. And now we're almost 8,000. And that's slower growth than we had before, but it's because YouTube is playing games. So they're really, really playing games. But yeah, it's been quite a pleasure, quite a joy to meet lots of fascinating people. I think that the interviews that I've done have been of great interest to most people. And it's even not been fun, but it's been interesting to deal with the trolls. That's been an interesting phenomenon too, to upset and hurt people's feelings, which is nonsense. They're just being difficult. If they were truly hurt, they wouldn't behave the way they were. But let's see what else. Het says, I prefer you have won the lottery. Send your banking details claim. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Well, speaking of absent without leave, ladies and gentlemen, who do we see there but the one, the only? Here he is. I'm going to move this up because for some reason this is not showing up here. Okay, channel alerts. Oh, it's not there. Why? Why is that? Super chat should be on top. Okay, let me do this here. There we go. All right, so it hasn't come up yet, but Tom is here. Tom, my Army buddy there, who lives in Tennessee, Kentucky, right on that border there, out by Fort Campbell, worked for me in Liberia. Tom, I haven't seen him. He's been quiet lately. He says he's on the net. Don't ask, don't tell. Forced soldiers lie about themselves. An institution where we highly prize integrity. I didn't like it either. There you go. There's the super chat from Tom. Oh, well, I'm going the wrong way. Stop the zombie. Stop the zombie. The zombie's coming at me. Thank you, Tom, for that $5 super chat. I really appreciate that as well. Yeah, so let me talk about that for a few moments, folks, and get your feedback in the chat about this. So don't ask, don't tell was a Clinton-era policy. And I'm going to get a Starbucks while we talk. I have to go to the market. I'm almost out of Starbucks. Yes, I'm drinking it all. Yeah, so a Clinton-era policy, which was supposedly a compromise between the flag officers, the generals and admirals, and the Clinton administration, in which they apparently said they wanted to allow soldiers to serve who were openly gay in the military, but they claim that the generals and admirals refused to budge on that as if they have a say in it. It's the civilian leadership that decides what we do. But the Clinton administration came up with the don't ask, don't tell policy. So for those who don't know, don't ask, don't tell meant that you could not ask a soldier, a sailor, airman, marine, you couldn't ask anyone in the military what their sexuality was. Well, to me, that's a no-brainer. Why would you ever ask anybody about their sexuality anyway? But that's part of the story. You couldn't ask them, and you couldn't use information that you gained from that to discipline or punish them. So basically, it allowed for the presence of homosexuals in uniform, although they'd always been in uniform. It allowed for the presence of homosexuals in uniform, and you couldn't retaliate against them for that. Now, the don't tell part was that they were not obliged to tell. But the moment that a homosexual identified, or someone identified themselves as a homosexual, as a commander, we were required by law to take action. And that action meant discharge. So those soldiers would get an honorable discharge and we kick them out. Now, there's all kinds of problems with this because the policy was a little more complicated than that. Don't ask, don't tell also included provisions saying that if you are homosexual, you cannot engage in homosexual conduct because that was forbidden by the military. So basically, what they're telling soldiers, you can come in the Army, stay for 20 years, and unlike your heterosexual counterparts, you can never have sex. Not legitimately. Huh? That's what the policy was. So the upshot was that a lot of soldiers that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars training to make into soldiers, to give them language training, to give them specialized intelligence training, signals training, things like that. They would show up in units and they decide that, well, you know what? This isn't what I thought it was. I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. And all they had to do, no harm, no foul, walk into the commander's office. Sir, I'm gay. And then if a soldier tells me that, I can't ask any questions, male or female. That's the end of the conversation. Thanks a lot, Private Jones. Have a good evening. We'll talk later. I have to immediately start proceedings to discharge that soldier for being a homosexual because now I know. But that soldier is under no obligation to tell me. So what did Don't Ask, Don't Tell do? It cost the military tens of millions of dollars in training cost to let soldiers go prematurely who wanted to do something else. And it also forced homosexuals to live secretly, even though they were allowed to stay in uniform. They couldn't practice having sex. It was a dumb policy, and it only went away a few years ago, so only recently. Absolutely ludicrous. So I'd like to get that congressional candidate on to get her thoughts on it, because she served under that policy, and I thought it was the dumbest policy ever. I think Tom agrees with me. It was stupid, and it didn't help anybody. Quentin says, I really do support gay marriage as long as both chicks are hot. Ah, ha, 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 says Quentin. Yikes. Clearly, Monica didn't get the memo. Tim has been uber red-pilled. Tim Cast, are we talking about? Who's Tim? Tim Cast? Quentin, so true. Crowder and Tim are the best. Yeah, Tim Cast is fascinating. I mean, what a concept. He just sits there and he just puts up an article on the screen. He kind of sits there and reads from it and looks right at it and just kind of gives his thought on it and plays with his glasses, puts them back up and down. Let me see. So I got a pair here, lifts his glasses up and down. Yeah, Tim Cast, interesting. And he's got a massive following. Interesting. Full of energy. But I find it fascinating. But anyway, so there you go. Let's see what else. Citizen Guardian says, my wife says that the majority of men who are gay are so tidy that they wouldn't even need to be asked to make their bed straight enough to bounce a penny off it. Oh, gosh. Stereotypes. We were just watching Ronaldo's program. There are lots of stereotypes being bandied about there. Anyway. Hey, Paulie says, we can both agree Chris puts in the same effort since the beginning to now. Next stop, 10,000. I hope so, guys. Okay. You guys have been apparently talking about Tim and Crowder for some time here, and I missed it. Okay. SARS is a virus, as is SARS. Ha ha ha. Clever, clever, clever. What else we got here? Chris Wyatt, tell us a bit about what you will do in the mountains with the vets. Oh, yeah, sure, Tian. Hang on, actually a second. Let me see where that's at. Don't go away. All right. Okay. This is actually my directions as a cadre member, but I can tell you some of the stuff we'll do. All right. Let me read from this as a message here. So I'll read some of this to you guys. Here we go. I said don't go away, and 3 people left. What the heck? My goodness. Where is the loyalty? What happened? Did Loving Life come back on? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Excuse me. Okay, so back to this. Okay, so let me talk to this, guys. I'll be going out to the Wind River Range in Wyoming, which is in the western part of Wyoming. If you look at a map of Wyoming, you'll see that it is in the west. The western part of the state has the Rocky Mountains going through it, and then there's some mountains in the center, and then the east is like flat as a tabletop. So, and there's a flat spot in the middle. Let's see what else. What do you got here? Monday, the 7th September, briefing, gear check, reception, and a dinner. Then Tuesday, cowboy action shooting competition, lunch and hike from the trailhead. Then a 4-day cycle of topics, and we'll be covering things like the purpose of life. Then the next day, we're doing life balance. I'll be one of the lead cadre for that, talking about how you balance the requirements of life along with your own responsibilities, and especially for those who've retired or left military service. Civilian life is a lot different, and it comes with different challenges, and your support structure is very different than what you have in uniform. It's actually lacking in many ways. So particularly for people who don't have strong ties to a faith, finding support once you're out can be very challenging. And how do you balance life's requirements with your responsibilities? So we'll be talking about that. That'll be one of the things I'll be leading. Then we do spiritual warfare, and that's about faith, and that's not one I'll be leading, but I'll be there to participate in it. And then we do community and networking. That'll be something I also play a big role in, helping talk about what veterans can do to reach out to other veterans, but also as importantly, or more importantly, to reach out to the civilian world, to find your spot in the civilian world, how you can relate to it, and how you can build ties. So like today, so I had Andre Schneemann on. The reason I had Andre Schneemann on is because I network, and I met him through LinkedIn, and because I have a big presence and read a lot about rugby on LinkedIn. A lot of people in the rugby world follow the things I write. So a long time ago, we became linked there. And as a consequence of that, I used that networking connection to build off of that. Now, one of the reasons why they like me to come out there is that a lot of what I do is kind of not the standard fare, not the norm that a lot of other people do. So for instance, how many people do you know that just left military service and started a YouTube channel and are doing the sort of things I'm doing? There's probably a few, but not many. And I'm not dependent on my identity as a soldier. It's not the overriding consideration about who I am. I define myself in different ways. And that's an important consideration because a lot of people have a hard time taking the uniform off and becoming something else. So that makes a big difference. And so we'll be talking about that as well. And then we've got a hike out, a debriefing, a reception, a dinner. Yeah, so what else we got here? There'll be reading material. Some of the things will come along with it. Yeah, Catherine, I think it's your network. It's the problem because other folks are doing fine. Sorry to hear that. It's a shame. I know the buffering is really tough. One way, Catherine, I'm not asking you to leave right now, but one way for this is to watch it as a repeat later on and allow the data to load, pause it while it loads, and then go ahead and play it and stops the buffering as it loads it up in your cache. It's not ideal, but it does do the trick. Tian says, Chris Wyatt, has things changed since post-Gulf War I in terms of PTSD and helping soldiers just back civilian life? Yeah, I would say that it's become a much more friendly environment and more helpful environment in America, in large measure owing to the Iraq conflict and Afghanistan. A lot of Americans have some sort of sense of responsibility and or sense of guilt that they didn't serve. And that works to the military's advantage unintentionally. So you have all kinds of programs. States set them up. Communities set them up. The federal government has all kinds of things. Under Donald Trump, the Veterans Administration has been turned on its head in many respects. As we heard during the Republican convention, the Veterans Administration medical system now has 91, or Veterans Administration has a 91% approval rating from surveys from veterans who use it. And they have something called Veterans Choice now. As a veteran, and I actually qualify for health care because of service-related disabilities, if I want, I can go to any civilian doctor and I can get treatment, and I'm not paying for it. They pay for it, which was not the case. Before, you had to go to a VA medical center, and the closest one to me is an hour away. I'd have to drive an hour for an ouchie or for a serious injury. Now, in emergency, if you break your leg, you get shot, something like that, you go to a place, and then you get the authorization afterwards because you had no choice. It was emergency. But for routine care, you have to drive an hour each way, and that consumes a lot of your life. And you wait in a long line with lots of veterans. Now, because of veterans dying, because of the callous disregard for their health by the Obama administration, by the Veterans Administration, but during the Obama administration in particular, what has happened is that the Trump administration has turned the Veterans Administration on its head. So a lot of things have gotten better for veterans. I have to say that I went through my medical screening for the Veterans Administration, and it was relatively quick, and it was all done just in time for lockdown. Got my veterans letter, disability letter, about a week before the lockdown started. They made a determination a few days before that, and so it was done. Now, there are some other medical things that had to be looked at, and I had to get those taken care of, but I qualified for the care at that point. So, yeah, it is very much turned on its head, and also in the private sector. So these would be some of the things I'll be talking to veterans about. So, for instance, there's an organization called ACP, American Corporate Partners. It was founded by a former bond trader who worked on Wall Street and was very patriotic. And around 2007, he retired from the financial services industry, and he knew a lot of people who were involved in corporate America. So, for instance, the lady with the Indian surname Naidu, who used to run PepsiCo, the Pepsi company, he knew her personally. And so he talked to her one day as he was getting out of the business, and Rudy just donated 35 Rand. Vets Rock, Stepchildren of the Nation. Well, thank you, Rudy. I appreciate that. Awesome. So what he did was he talked to Naidu, and she said, listen, she said, you know everybody in every business because of what you've been doing in the financial world. Why don't you use that to an advantage? And he said, what do you mean? Well, how about helping veterans who come out of, because he was trying to help veterans. So he went to her about asking, he went to her to ask about helping veterans. She said, well, one thing you can do is that you know all these senior leaders. Why don't you get leaders to volunteer to be mentors for those leaving military service, transitioning to the corporate world, the private sector? And he said, yeah. So he started American Corporate Partners, and what American Corporate Partners does is it takes a veteran, whether a retiree or just someone who's done 3 years, 6 years, 10 years, takes a veteran, you apply to the program, they look at your CV, your resume, and you tell them what your interests are. In my case, I wanted someone with overseas business experience who was an American, and preferably Africa, but it's fine if it's Europe, who also ran a consultancy business. And so I wanted that experience. So self-employed and had their own business and also worked overseas. It didn't have to be all at the same time, but all in that vein. So I went through the process, and I'm like, well, they're not going to find anybody for me. I'm a colonel. I've done all these things. I've been all these places. But you know what? I can learn, so I'll do it. It's not often you find a protege who's in their 50s. Usually proteges are in their teens, 20s, 30s, and then their mentors are older. normally. So I figured, no, and they wouldn't find anybody for me. Well, they did find somebody for me. I got a vice president from McKinsey, the consultancy, and was it McKinsey? No, PricewaterhouseCoopers. PricewaterhouseCoopers. A vice president of PricewaterhouseCoopers who had his own business, sold it for tens of millions of dollars, was a consultant, and also worked in Europe for IBM for a long time, and then came back to the States, and he wound up working for PricewaterhouseCoopers because the stability, he didn't have to worry about generating revenue, he got a regular paycheck, and he was treated well. So he became a mentor, and we communicate by email or phone call and touch base. He gave me recommendations and ideas, and it was helpful. I didn't use it as much as I could have. I didn't want to indulge on him, but it's a fantastic program. It helps a lot of veterans shift from uniform to civilian life. It's actually very important. So yeah, lots of things out there. In terms of PTSD, the Veterans Administration, if you qualify, and PTSD would be something that qualified. Now, if you get veterans care, if you have a rating, and that means that you have a service-related injury, you get a percentage for it. Like if you're missing an arm, they give you 20% or something like that. But if you have an injury or a mental injury like PTSD, they might give you 0%, but if a problem develops, you get free care from VA, but only for that issue. If you get over 50%, then you get free care for the entire body and mind, with the exception of dental. You don't get dental care unless you got a bullet in the mouth and it damaged your teeth, and so you have to have care because of that. So, do vets have marital problems? Yeah, lots do. Lots of marriages fall apart. Lots of families fall apart when people leave uniform, in part because now you have someone that's a hard charger that's been doing all kinds of amazing things all over the world, lots of responsibility, people's lives on the line, and a lot of people come back and they have a hard time adjusting. That's a big part of why we're having this event out in Wyoming, is to help veterans make that adjustment and to make sure you stay a well-rounded person, you don't become focused on one thing. And so that's a big part of what we're doing out in in Wyoming, excuse me. Yeah, so it does happen, but it also happens in uniform. It's a big problem. You have to remember, folks, that military members oftentimes are away from their family for months at a time or a year or longer. They're put in harm's way. Their lives are in jeopardy. They're in bad environments, which are exposed to all kinds of diseases and things like that, poor living conditions. And it's a lot of stress on the family, a lot of stress on the soldier, sailor, airman, Marine. And not everything survives. Not every marriage survives. Not every family survives. Not every child is well adjusted. Most are, but not all are. So it's important. Deborah Oliver says, honestly, I did not realize how many U.S. soldiers lost their lives in Iran. In Iran? What are we talking about there? After 2 years of service and 8 years of camps, we were treated like lepers. Yeah, that's South Africa. Compulsory service. When you're in uniform because of a conscription, the service doesn't have to care about you because they're going to get you whether you want to be there or not. But when you're an all-volunteer force, if you treat your service members like crap and you treat veterans like crap, then you're not going to be able to recruit more people. So you have to adjust when you're an all-volunteer force, which is good. Throughout your military career, which department postings do you enjoy the most? Well, Renell, I have to be honest. There was never one I enjoyed the most. At different points in life, I enjoyed different things. So I'll run through some of the assignments I enjoyed the absolute most. I really enjoyed my first assignment as an enlisted soldier to Germany because it was new, it was exciting. I was a young man. I was in Europe. I didn't have much money, but I traveled all over because the dollar was really strong. And I saw so much of Europe, and I went on exercise all the time, and I really enjoyed it. So my first tour in Germany, 84 to 87, which was an 18-month tour, and I extended and spent 3 years there, was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And I never regret that time and the memories of that time. It was fantastic. Even though I wanted to be a sergeant. I got promoted to sergeant before I left, but rather insignificant, low-ranking soldier. But what a great life experience, and what a great experience as an adult. As someone once told me, a young person used the verb adulting. Turn adult into a verb, adulting. So that was fantastic. Another great tour is I truly enjoyed being a brigade S2 when I was lieutenant. It was a major's job. Lieutenant, captain, major. And I was a lieutenant doing a major's job, and I was supposed to have a staff of 9, and I had 3 people most of the time, including myself. And it was amazing. It was high stress, lots going on. Really, really enjoyed it. Covered the Balkans, and we had Rwanda back then, Gulf War, lots of responsibility. I enjoyed that job a lot. The next one I truly enjoyed was I liked my tour in Italy when I was a commander, but I was gone a lot, so I can't really say it was one of the best tours. But I really enjoyed my tour at the National Security Agency. What a national treasure under General Hayden that National Security Agency was for the United States and for the world. What a good agent for change. I truly enjoyed that. I was the chief of staff of a $3 billion acquisition program for the National Security Agency. Absolutely loved it. I loved working at the NSA. I loved saying that I worked at the NSA. It was a great experience. The location's fantastic. I'm from Baltimore, and Fort Meade is where headquarters is at. It's right down the road from Baltimore, 10 miles away. And so I was like a pig in slop. I could go to Orioles games. I could get steamed crabs in the summertime. I traveled the world all the time for my job. And I met influential people, ambassadors, heads of intelligence services, and politicians from all over the world. It was fascinating. And I made a difference. It was really cool. So that was one of my best jobs. Another really good job, which was very difficult, very challenging, and really sucks the life out of you, was rebuilding the Armed Forces of Liberia. I truly enjoyed that. That was an amazing, amazing job. I went there as a major, and I was doing a job that really a full colonel should have been doing, so 2 levels above me. And when I left, I was replaced by a lieutenant colonel and a full colonel took over my job. So that shows you how important the job was, and I did that myself. So that was really cool. Rebuilding the Armed Forces of Liberia, lots of responsibility. And then finally, I'd say the other job I truly, truly enjoyed was my last job as the Director of African Studies at the Army War College. That was quite an experience. I really enjoyed that. Lots of international students having an impact on future leaders. And that was pretty cool. Yeah, enjoyed it. Okay. Anna Marie Force says, I don't think I could ever have been a military wife. Must be lonely times. Yeah, it is. It does get that way. Yep. Deborah Olivia, I watched the Vietnam vets struggle. Huge respect to soldiers, all soldiers. My late hubby was on the border. He never spoke about it. Yeah, I can understand why he didn't. Erica, Chris, I was chatting to 2 middle-aged policemen, white, last night. I was shocked that the SAPs don't get debriefed or allowed to. They all suffer from cops PTSD. Yeah, no, there's all kinds of stuff that happens with the law enforcement in South Africa. It just makes me shake my head. It's insane, some of the stuff that they don't do that they should be doing. For instance, we saw the police officer in the video where he started to unholster his sidearm in Cape Town. He was in no danger. He was no imminent threat. There was no reason to resort to deadly force other than fear. And fear comes from a lack of training. If you are trained repeatedly in those circumstances and prepared to deal with that, then he would never have drawn his weapon. Not in those circumstances. There are circumstances he should have drawn his weapon, but that was not the case. For instance, in that situation yesterday in that video, when the cop drew his weapon after the guy had been subdued, was on the ground, he stepped away and he started to unholster his weapon, then he put it back when he saw the camera was on. That would never have happened if he was properly trained. But the one instance where it might have been appropriate is the motorcyclists who were sitting further back, about 10, 15 meters, who were sitting there in a line. They never advanced. They never made him menacing. But if they had come forward on the motorcycles and menaced him, then it might have been appropriate in that circumstance. But no, it's really, really shame what the SAPs do and don't do. It's anyway. Oh, Deborah says Iraq and Afghanistan, not Iran. Yeah. Well, we lost about 4,500, 5,000 soldiers, something like that. Yeah. But it pales in comparison to the number wounded. Lots of people come back missing testicles and genitals and eyes and limbs and paraplegic and you know, it's traumatic brain injury, lots of really horrific things from roadside bombs especially. It was something else. Tian says, wait, what did you buy the NSA for $3 billion? Oh, lots of Starbucks. No, Tian, I can't talk about what I bought for the NSA. What I can say is that the program that I worked on was a $3 billion acquisition program. We didn't spend that much money in the end because the program was dismantled and all the parts we had in it were used elsewhere. So the program still continues, but in a different fashion so that people new to National Security Agency would have no idea that back in that time, we worked on the program and they have what they have today as a consequence of it. But yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, that's why I get a kick out of it when these trolls come on my channel and they start talking to me like I'm some guy that just walked, at a Starbucks with them and we went to high school together. Not to be arrogant, but or like, what do you know? What do you know? It's just opinion. Well, yeah, everything. Lots of opinions out there, but this is an informed opinion. I've actually done something. I've actually been around the block, and when I see people talking about in the Nutter conversation with the guy from on Jeremy's channel, Germ Warfare, the guy told him at 9/11 the other day, and he's like, oh, buildings don't collapse that way, and so I ask obvious questions. So at what temperature does steel collapse and melt? Oh, There was no fuel. Yeah, there was fuel. There was jet fuel all over that building that came from those planes. And those planes had only been in the air for a short time, so they were fully loaded with fuel. Yeah. Anyway, and then people question, what do you know? I know. I do know. Simple as that. Conspiracy theories are fun, and I'm just talking about conspiracy theories about what the police are up to in Cape Town. But a lot of people, they weave these strange things. They think governments are all powerful, and they're not all powerful. They might be all powerful in suppressing freedom, Zimbabwe, Iran, North Korea. They may be all powerful in impoverishing people, South Africa. But governments aren't all powerful. They can't just make anything happen anytime they want. It's like the CIA. Dude, I've worked at the CIA all over the world. You need to stop putting so much faith in it. It's less Jason Bourne and more Keystone Cops in many respects. That doesn't mean they're quite not capable of doing things. They are, but it just kills me. Just kills me. Lezan is telling Deborah, my dad also never spoke about it. Remember, my ex asked him about it, and he just told him, "Manni das goed, wat manni or pratni." Yeah, it's best not to talk about it. They say you never liked him afterwards. Oh, okay. Okay. Chris, what did you hear about the flooding in Niger? I didn't hear about it, Brett. I've been busy, so I missed that one, flooding in Niger. I'm not surprised. Pulled a Max right off his bikes. They're not people you mess with. They keep grudges. Well, yeah, but you got to be careful about how you keep those grudges. The ANC would drool for the $3 billion. Well, yeah, they would, but they just got $4.3 billion, so that wouldn't be quite enough. Brett says Niger is a vital ally of the U.S. in the war on terror. Yeah, but not just the war on terror. It's been a vital long-term ally in the Sahel and in that region. At times when we had difficult relations with other states, Niger has been a close friend and ally, and that's continued for a long time. So, yeah. Let me see what else. Deborah says, no, I don't believe what is being said about 9/11. There was skullduggery there. Yeah, there was. Oh, you're saying you don't believe. Okay. So, Deborah, did you believe the Nutter, the stories he was telling, or do you believe me? Yeah. Let's see what else. Brett says, Bush 43 was not reading that children's book upside down. He was reading it right side up. The teacher confirmed that. Also, Popular Science confirmed that jet fuel can melt steel. Indeed, Popular Science and Discovery also did it. And it isn't jet fuel that melted it. It's the intense temperature that caused it to melt. That's the bottom line. And of course, people forget that the building is full of copper wire, computer lines, electrical outlets, combustible material, all that stuff, and a massive amount of weight that hit it. And, this thing always gets me is how is it? It had to be a controlled implosion. Just because when they do demolitions on buildings, they look similar, that doesn't mean it has to be that way. But what gets me is that to what end? What is the purpose of it? So, see, that's the other end of the shoe that never drops when we talk about this conspiracy. Oh, so they colluded. The government did this. The 50,000 Jews who worked in the World Trade Center had all escaped New York and gone back to Israel. First off, that's the biggest pile of cock you could ever imagine. There weren't 50,000 Jews working the World Trade Center. That's just insane. And it certainly weren't 50,000 Jews who left America and went back to Israel. Which flight did they take? There aren't that many flights to South Africa, or to Israel in a month to carry 50,000 people back there, let alone in a day. It beggars imagination. So let's pretend, as the guy was doing, that the government cooked it all up and that there was a controlled implosion. So are you claiming that the government flew the planes into the towers first and then imploded it? Why didn't they just implode it? What's the point of bringing planes in there? And how is it that we actually have evidence, physical evidence from the planes, and we have the photographic evidence of these people boarding the plane, and we have and the claim, before their names even released, the claims from Al Qaeda for the action. The conspiracy is just too elaborate. It falls apart instantaneously. So I get a kick out of these people. 20 years later, still talking about this nonsense. The truth is that we left ourselves vulnerable because we were a democracy and we were arrogant. We were arrogant. We thought, as a nation, that our openness was a strength, and it is, but it's also a vulnerability, and we paid a price for it. A lot of people died that day. So Clinton had 4 years to counter al-Qaeda's threats before 9/11. Bush had only 4 months. Brady, actually longer than that. We knew already in 93, 7 years. We knew in 93 about this. And the Clinton administration blew them off. You remember that Osama bin Laden declared war on the United States, and the Clinton administration dismissed it as a criminal issue, not a terrorist issue. Let's see. Paulie says, December 2000, I stood at the Weather Center at the top of the South Tower. August 2014, visited the memorial. Have you been to 9/11 Museum? It's truly breathtaking. The 9/11 Museum at Ground Zero. I have not gone inside it because the lines are just too long. I've been in the towers. I've been up there several times. I was actually up there the month that it opened. In the first 2 weeks, I was one of the first people up there. And they allowed active military, free entry at that time. Then they changed that and you had to pay. But I got in like 2 years in a row after it opened, the new towers, for free. And then last time I got a discount. But yeah, so I've been up there at least 3-4 times since it opened. Quite a breathtaking view. But the museum has always been full. It wasn't there the first few times. Now it's there. And each time I've been there, it's just been too long a line. I don't have that kind of patience to wait in line. Life goes by too fast for me to stand in line for 2 hours to get into a museum. Tian says, what advice would you offer to our vets who didn't get any support and were told to shut up about the border war? Well, what I'd offer, Tian, is to write about it. Record your experiences. If you've got a family member who was a veteran in the border war, the Bush war, then I would approach them and you know, if they're willing to talk about it, but they should talk about it and record oral history, videotape it. Do it. It's cathartic to talk about these experiences. You don't have to be targeting it for anyone. You can just be sharing, or you can share in a conversation. Reach out to other veterans and piss on the National Party and piss on the ANC who want to forget about those events. Those people, those boys, those young men, because it was all men who were out there in the bush, suffered a lot, and they put a lot out there for their country, and they should not be ignored. One of my all-time favorite songs is Die Kaplan from Boek van Black. And in fact, I'll risk maybe at the end of this stream, maybe I'll play that, and I'll just cut it out at the end to play Die Kaplan. It's a moving video. It's really well done by Boek van Black. Fantastic stuff. Let's see what else. The Freedom of Information Act would have uncovered some sort of conspiracy theory. Even Noam Chomsky dispelled the truth. Yeah, exactly. Totenkopf says the only rabbit hole I think really needs to be looked at is the Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, the planes were decoys, the buildings imploded, strategically placed explosives, says Deborah. Okay, Deborah. To what end? To what end? Why? To accomplish what? For the military-industrial complex? The military-industrial complex that was already getting $500 billion a year? Yep. I don't think an Israeli would like to be called Jews. Don't disagree with you, Nico. I'm just telling you the nonsense that was put out there. How elaborate is the conspiracy that brought us BLM and Antifa? Conspiracy? There's no conspiracy. BLM and Antifa are definitely groups that exist. We know the origins of them. We know the founder of BLM. We can find the funding sources of them. Antifa, similar. It's not a conspiracy. They exist. They claim their existence, and they march on the streets and they attack people. They raise money and they get away with it. So I don't know what conspiracy. They're there. Rudy says, I saw military aircraft crash on the line. Within seconds, the biggest fireball I've seen in my life. A passenger jet carries in the region of 20 tons of fuel. That creates a big fire when spilled. Absolutely, Rudy. Absolutely. Look, for those who didn't see it, the C-17 cargo plane that took off from Afghanistan a couple of years ago, and the plane did this really strange thing where it went like straight up in the air and then just came down and hit the ground, and it was only, a few thousand feet, not even a few thousand feet in the air. And the fireball from that, the heat generated from that, melted steel quite a distance from the actual crash site. That was in Afghanistan. It was all contractors on the plane. It was a C-17. It was the one that went up like this, and then it kind of exploded. And they said it was there was a stinger or something, but no one knows. It looks like it was more like a plane crash because I didn't see the explosion until it hit the ground. But what a massive fireball that was from a plane full of fuel. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Really sad. Jet fuel fires do not create a hot enough fire to melt steel. TNT does. Well, the problem with that, Deborah, is that Popular Mechanics and Discovery, which use structural engineers, disagree with that. So, anyway. But, yeah, you clearly believe in that, so, I mean, no one's going to dissuade you from it. Lazon says, hate lines, life is way too effing short. I could have been doing literally anything else. Exactly. Tian says, thanks you kindly, but clapping a biker is safer than asking our vets to talk. He might be right about that. Yeah, well, they were conditioned not to talk. Brett says, now Richard Okoye, Asian-American member of the Black Panthers, turned out to be an FBI informant. That was because the Panthers were a scary radical group, not a conspiracy. Yeah, could be the case. It's interesting when you see this stuff, folks. Back in the day, a lot of these groups, civil rights groups, and that's one reason why we had the church hearings in the 1970s, congressional hearings about the abuses of the intelligence community. And one of the reasons why I had so many constraints and handcuffs on my wrist as a counterintelligence agent as to what I could do. The things that the FBI did to violate the civil and constitutional rights of Carter Page, of General Michael Flynn, of Donald Trump, of all these people, the things that they did, I could never have dreamed of getting away with that. How they got away with it, I don't know. I guess because they're connected to the Department of Justice, because the FBI is under them, and they just got away with it. But in the Army, if I came and tried to cook up some kind of nonsensical scheme like that on the flimsy basis they had to get a warrant from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, I'd be sitting in Leavenworth. There's no question about it. No question about it. But the church hearings in the 1970s led to intelligence reform. And one of the biggest culprits were the FBI was one, and the Army intelligence was the other. So back in the 1960s, Army intelligence and the FBI would put informants and spies into civil rights organizations, into the Students for Democratic Society, and all these student groups and leftist groups all over the country to look for malcontents and for treason and for espionage and that sort of thing. And you go to some meetings and it turns out that there were more local and federal law enforcement officials who were actually members of the group than actual radicals in the group. So, yeah, they get quite pervasive out there. Emery Forster says, late 80s sap, when a detective covered in blood came back from bank robbery where his best friend died in arms, shot by robbers. I can't recall ever seeing him go for counseling. Yeah. Doesn't mean it was a good idea, though, not to have counseling. That stuff gets built up inside. So, Antifa and BLM are conspiring in the streets of America. Conspiracy also means an agreement to commit crime, fraud, wrongful acts. They're colluding. To use the words of the left, they're colluding. Lars Salas, usually secrecy is implied, but it's not necessary to conspire. That's true. That's true. Yeah, well, there's the correct use of the verb, to conspire. Yep, to collude, to conspire. Sasa says there is a point in bringing the buildings down to prevent them toppling over and destroying other buildings, but how realistic is to get in teams to set up everything in such a short time? Yeah, no, it's a good question. Anyway, I found it was entertaining with the gentleman on Germ's channel. I enjoyed being a friendly troll on there, refuting some of the stuff that was going on. I mean, listen, let's just talk about this. So all these people talk about, well, it was clearly a conspiracy. It was all coordinated by the government. You'll notice that the military didn't respond in sufficient time. Well, I ask you this question. Which active Air Force base armed with jet interceptors was located within minutes of D.C., of New York? None. We had no bases. The closest Air Force base with jet fighters was Langley Air Force Base down in Virginia, quite far down in Virginia. And those jets, assuming somebody was sitting in drinking coffee in the lounge, waiting for orders to fly somewhere, could not get in the air and get to D.C. in time. And that was proven. It's proven. Couldn't do it. So after that, we wound up having a couple of jet fighters, interceptors on strip alert, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, much closer to Washington, D.C., but not closer to New York. We haven't put it back closer to New York. We used to have an air base just up the Hudson above New York City, which is now a commercial airport. It was used in World War II. We don't have anything. People are like, but the National Guard. The National Guard doesn't sit around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have jobs. They only train on the weekends. Sometimes they have full-time members, but those aren't the pilots. The pilots who fly those planes are not the ones who work 7 days a week. It's admin people to do with the paperwork, to administration, things like that. Very few fighters actually do full-time work in the National Guard, unless they're a fighter and they're doing something other than fighting. So it's an important thing to point out is that when these conspiracy theorists get out there and say, oh, it was all planned, this, that, and the other, the military didn't do this, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like the whole thing with this Nick Turse and these articles on our military bases. America has military bases, 29 military bases in Africa. No, we have a single military base, and that base is located in Djibouti, Camp Lebanye. That's it. And we've only had it since 2002 or late 2001. We have no other bases. We have agreements. We have signed agreements in place that we can use facilities in some countries as air embarkation points and departure points if we have a mission in Africa. We have agreements like that. We have used air bases that belong to others, like Entebbe, for operations on an agreement, but we don't own them. And then people say, but in Niger you have a base. No, we built a $115 million base, which cost $15 million a year to secure and operate for the Force Armée Nigérienne, the Armed Forces of Niger, so they can use it as an air base and a drone base. And we're flying drones out of there for shared intelligence, which we give to the FAN. Now, that base has about 800 Air Force personnel, but they're not infantry. There's only a handful of security people there. The rest of them are admin people, technicians, logisticians, things like that. It's all ash and trash, not combat fighters. And there are drones there. But the reason we're there is to assist the Nigerian forces in the request they have to fight in the Sahel. They don't want us to leave. Do you know why? Not because they enjoy our presence, although they do. Not because they feel comfortable because of our presence, although they do. Not because America is a hegemon trying to take over the Sahel, because we're not. They want us there because in order to keep the base functional, it's going to cost $15 million per year to do it properly. Otherwise, it starts falling apart right away, if not things being stolen from it for not having adequate security. So the government of Nigeria doesn't have $15 million a year, so they prefer that the U.S. Air Force stay there as long as possible so they don't have to pay for that base, and that's the bottom line. But that's it. That's not our base. That's a Nigerian base. Yes, we built it. That doesn't mean it's ours. we built a lot of things around the world that don't belong to us, including Europe after the Second World War. It would be a pile of rubble if it wasn't for us, but we don't own Europe. Deborah says there were 2 military aircraft in the air at the time, minutes away. Which type of aircraft? What was the model? What was the designation of those aircraft? Where were they flying from? How much fuel did they have at the time? And what was their mission? Deborah, there are tens of thousands of aircraft over the airspace of the United States at any given moment in normal times. Not right now in COVID-19, but at any given time. Tens of thousands. Take a look at the radar tracking in the United States. There are aircraft. There are military aircraft in the air. They're flying out of Ellsworth Air Force Base. They're flying out of dozens of other Air Force, Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada at any given time. But those aircraft you're talking about, where did they come from? How long have they been in the air? What were they flying? So when you say near, see, that's what conspiracy, I'm not picking on you, Deborah, but that's what conspiracy theorists do. Let me just do that. Take apart what you said here. Now, to be fair, it's chat. You can't elaborate because there's only so many characters. So to be fair, there were 2 military aircraft in the air at the time, minutes away. What are minutes away? And how much time did they have to react? Remember that New York City has airspace. People land in New York City at JFK. They land at LaGuardia in the city, down on Long Island, both those. So they fly right past the city. I've flown right over Coney Island and can see downtown. This is after 9/11. And there's an airport just north of New York City, just a few minutes. By jet, like 3 minutes, 4 minutes away on the Hudson, the former military airfield that's up there. And then, of course, you have Connecticut very closely by with commercial airfields. So there's tons of commercial airfields, and the airspace is highly used. So minutes away. What does that mean? I'm not picking on Deborah. Please, no one attack Deborah. I'm not picking on Deborah. But what does that mean? Now, if you said that there were military aircraft flying in the air minutes away from the aircraft that crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, that's not true. But if it were true, that could be useful information. Minutes away because there was no viable target for that aircraft in Shanksville because they were headed to D.C. for another half hour or an hour. And they're in the middle of nowhere. So if a plane could respond minutes away, then they could actually do something. But what exactly would a military aircraft have done? Shot down a commercial airline over U.S. airspace? And if it's part of conspiracy and they were there and the government did coordinate this, what was their purpose in being in the air? To guide the aircraft into the tower so it couldn't miss it? It's a big building. Or was their purpose to ensure that no one interfered with the plane crashing into the building? It doesn't make any sense. I can't figure out what the conspiracy is there, and what good and what does minutes away mean? Minutes away. You know, it only takes 19 minutes to fly up a good portion of the eastern seaboard from one place to another in this area to get from one major city to another. 19 minutes. So a few minutes, that's a big distance, especially for high-performance jet fighters that can fly a long distance. You're flying hundreds of miles an hour. If you're flying 600 miles per hour, 700 miles per hour, 4 minutes, you've traveled quite a distance. So what's a few minutes? That really makes a difference. Thank you, Deborah. Did you see the long-awaited Solera 500L bullet plane is finally revealed and how the details are to be revealed believe it, great jet. No, Anna Marie, I don't know about that. The conspiracy theory like the most of those surrounding Stuxnets and Nitro Zeus, the cyber warfare ones. Once in the air, a fighter can do 600 kilometers in 12 minutes. By then, he must land to refuel. Rudy, thank you. Thank you, Rudy. I just went through that, not quite to that level of detail, but that's, yeah, it's a few minutes in the air. I mean, those planes don't have long time on station. Most people should know that military aircraft are most likely unarmed in a non-combat mission, which is what I'm going at. That was the reason I asked the question, Sasha. What type of aircraft? Is it a C-130? Unless it's an AC-130, it doesn't have any weaponry. Is it a C-17? Has no weaponry. Is it a C-12? No weaponry. C-28? The list goes on. So military aircraft in the airspace doesn't mean anything. There may have been military aircraft in the area. They're probably C-130s from the National Guard training. C-130 can't do anything except watch a plane fly into a building. People should, okay. Rudy says the only time a military aircraft carries weaponry during peacetime is during training. Even then, military aircraft in the air, what would they do without weapons? They cannot fly wherever they want. Either chain of command is not instantaneous by any standards. Yeah, no, once you're in the air, pilot can do what they want. We've seen that. We've seen pilots misbehave. You know, the Air Botswana was wiped out by a nutter who wanted to commit suicide and crashed his plane on the runway in Gaborone, wiping out a bunch of aircraft, almost putting Air Botswana out of business about 17 years ago. Yeah, so there you go, folks. All right, what else? Any other questions or comments? Are you guys enjoying the members perks stream? What's your thoughts on that? Leizan says, I got very worked up now. I think I have to take some bush tea or something, but it isn't. Huh? Oh, it isn't Deborah. She actually gives me hope for our generation. Oh, D. I'm sorry. Was that a long time ago? When was that? Oh, gosh, that was a long time ago, Leizan. Sorry. My chat is way behind over here. What is going on with that? It's like an hour and a half behind. Oh, that's why my stream isn't live. Well, that's weird. I was in the Air Force training base for jet fighters, so Rudy knows. Thanks, all. Okay, Totem Coffee out of here. Cool. Well, folks, maybe should I go a bit longer or should I give it a call here? It's a Sunday. And by the way, I'm not wearing rugby for once. I'm wearing soccer. Yeah, FC Bayern, Fußball Club Bayern München. Yep, that's the only soccer team I've ever supported. Yep, cool beans. Well, I should continue, says Rudy. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so back to, I'm off. Cheers. All right, Yanni, get out of here. Have a good one. Let me just run through, for those who are curious about the trip, I'll just run through a little bit more. No, it's not washing day. My jerseys almost never wash them. Yeah, it looks incredible. When you throw this on, it looks even better. Look at that. There you go. Check it out. Got red all around. Keep America great and the red. It's pretty cool. Got little the reflective strips on the sleeves here too. See that there? And over on this side. All right, so for the trip, let me just run through some of the more things. I got away from that answering questions. Let's see. We'll hit the trailhead at Elkhart Park. All the lakes have good fishing. Afternoon hike to Miller Lake, 3.7 miles. Then a hike to Pole Creek Lakes, 6 miles. And then a hike to Tommy Lake, 3.64 miles. Then a hike to Lester Pass, and that is 3.5 miles. Hike to Sapphire Lake, 3.5 miles. And then the last hike out of the mountains, 7 miles on the last day. Woo! They'll provide fishing gear and non-resident fishing license, bear protocol, and briefing will be done about safe passage in the Wind River Mountains on the day we get there. Cell coverage is spotty, and so there'll be a satellite phone in case anybody has an emergency to call out. And that's just a little bit more information on the trip to Wyoming, folks. There you go. Blasphemy. What's blasphemy? This is the most interesting chat. I have to retire now. Thanks, Chris. Nice show. Send some love to your vets from us lot in SA. Well, cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people are dropping off now, so it's getting, I think, a bit late for folks. Anyway, it's Sunday. I do hope that everybody enjoyed it. I don't have any interviews set up for the moment now for the week, so it'll be straight voltages for the moment. I also have a lot of work to do to get my briefings done for teaching the course that I'll be doing in September, and I also have to start preparing for the trip. So I'll still do my live streams, but unless someone I've contacted gets back with me about an interview, I'm not going to be hunting down more people for interviews. So we'll see what happens. Anna Marie is leaving on a jet plane. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Yeah, Sydney says, don't forget a solar charger for your phone and the trip and a water filter. I will be taking a water filter, and I'll also be taking bear repellent. I also have solar charger and also power packs, as well as spare micro SD cards, and I've got a neck collar for my mobile and my GoPro, as well as a backpack hookup for my GoPro, which I'll have to do both those, and I'll be recording as much as possible and transmitting when I can. So it should be interesting. Good survival knife. Yeah, I was looking at survival knives the other day, Citizen Guardian, and I didn't find one I wanted, but I'm going to go look again because mine, I don't know where mine are, the ones I had years ago. We talked about this, whiskey, lots of whiskey. I haven't talked about whiskey, that's for sure. Anyway, so we're at, okay, cool. What else? 4,500-mile nautical range. What are you talking about? What is that? A B-1 bomber? It's not that far. Cool. All right. Yeah, so there you go. Okay, so folks are dropping off. I'm going to do that too, folks. I want to thank you all. And what should I leave you with? Should I leave you with a Giselle song, or should we play the cup line? The cup line, I think, and then I'll take my chances on that. Let me do this. Let me do this here. Bok van Blerk. Bok van Blerk. Okay, the cup line. There it is. That ain't right. There it is. All right. Let me get this loaded up. Thanks for a good weekend. Enjoy the trip. I'm up for now. I'm not gone for another week, guys. I'm still here for a week, so don't run off. I'll still be here this week. Okay, so here you go. For the South African vets, this is for you. I'm going to have to delete after the fact because they're going to get mad at me. But I'm going to go ahead and play this. I want to put my earpiece in because I want to hear it because I love this song. It's awesome. So tonight you don't get Giselle. I'm going to do something a little bit different on the way out. This is pretty cool stuff. So I hope that you guys appreciate this. This is about the Bush War and those who served in Angola and Southwest Africa. So let me find this real quick. Okay. All right. Let me take myself off. Thank you so much for your patronage, folks. God bless and have a good night. And we'll get this up right here. Respect to all the vets of the border war and the Bush War. God bless. Have a good night. I salute you.